Today on Around Kansas, Deb shares what she's been up to and gives us a look at her newest project, growing sweet potatoes. Next in our wildlife, it's all about the black-tailed prairie dog. Then on the front porch, we feature fancy cowgirl Courtney de Hoff. Ron Wilson is back with another poem, and we end with Michelle's tribute to Gordon Parks.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Hi, welcome to Around Kansas. I'm Deb Goodrich. Great to have you with us today. Here we are in February, and it is Black History Month, and we've got some awesome stories coming to you, one later on from Michelle, and the rest of the month. And there's so many stories to tell here. One of the ones that I, of course, am close to because I love military history is the 1st Kansas Colored, the first black regiment in the Union Army, raised by none other than Senator Jim Lane. And what a service record they had, and many of those men, the 1st and 2nd Kansas, go on to serve in the Indian Wars and become the Buffalo Soldiers. So great tradition in Kansas, and so many stories to share. So if you've got story ideas for us, please send us a message on Facebook or drop us an email. Reach out and let us know what your story ideas are. If you've got somebody in your family, with a great history, let us know. Those are, we can't find all the stories ourselves, so be sure and share those with us. Well, I'm just so proud. I've got a geranium blooming, and I broke down and went to the store a few months ago and got a grow light. And I wasn't having much luck with my plants just in the window. And with that grow light, I am so thrilled. They may be a little spindly, so you plant experts out there, you may have to give me a little help on how to get them to bunch up. But beautiful leaves. I just love geraniums, and to have one bloom in the winter. And I've got one, is it thyme? I think I've got some thyme growing. And then, all of those asters and mums that you buy in the fall, and everybody buys tons of them, myself included, and just throw them away when fall is done. I saved one of them, and it is growing like crazy. It's going to be some kind of gorgeous next year. That makes me feel not quite so guilty about the ones that didn't make it. I used to say plants committed suicide at my house, that I'd have these house plants and I just couldn't keep them alive. And then I went through a phase where I just had tons of house plants. And then in all my moving, I had to get rid of them, give them away, or sell them or something, And so now I've started building back my house plant population slowly but surely. Even have a sweet potato vine that I'm trying to grow, and I'm not having much luck with that. I think it's just too cold where I have it. Even though I've got it under the grow light, I think it's just a little cold for the sweet potato. So as much as I love those plants, that's one of the things. Mama didn't have much time for house plants, and she did have a sweet potato vine, though, that went all around and circled the entire kitchen, went across the tops of the cabinets and stuff and went around the whole kitchen. So I love those sweet potato vines. So I'll keep you posted on the progress of my sweet potato vine. Just got so much good stuff coming at you today. And again, I'm just so glad that you could join us.
Howdy, I'm Seth Hayes, and welcome to my hometown, from then to now. Council Grove has a rich history as deep as the prairie tall grass. Spend the day visiting 25 historic sites, or explore the unique shops and restaurants, or mosey out of town along the Santa Fe Trail. You all visit my hometown, Council Grove, in the heart of the Flint Hills.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
When I came to Kansas, I have to admit that one of the things I was most fascinated with were prairie dogs. And of course, here in Oakley, we used to have, the prairie dog town with the world's biggest prairie dog. That's no longer open, but I want you to know I visited that long before I moved to Oakley. And of course, if you're a farmer or a rancher, you're cursing those little beasts. Don't tell anybody, but I still think that they're fascinating. Let's take a look. Black-tailed prairie dogs, named for their black-tipped tails and dog-like bark, once lived throughout the Great Plains in towns that extended for miles and contained hundreds of thousands of individuals. The rodents excavate a complex underground system of tunnels and rooms that may be as deep as 15 feet, with horizontal tunnels reaching 10 to 15 feet long. The soil is pushed to the surface to create numerous mounds. They forage throughout the day, with sentinels sitting upright, standing guard as the others feed. When a predator is sighted, the sentinel barks and the entire colony scampers to their protective burrows. Abandoned burrows provide homes for spiders, salamanders, toads, ornate box turtles, snakes, and burrowing owls. Black-tailed prairie dogs live on the high plains from northern Mexico to southern Canada. They are found in shortgrass prairies and rangelands of the western half of Kansas. In the spring, females produce a single litter of 2 to 10 pups. They may live up to 8 years. Prairie dogs feed primarily on green vegetation, including grasses, seeds, stems, and the occasional insect. According to Parks and Wildlife Office in Pratt, there is no closed hunting season on prairie dogs and no license required for Kansas residents. There is also no bag limit. A license is required for non-residents. Andy Chappell, wildlife biologist at the Cimarron National Grasslands, said that plague sweeps through the prairie dog population periodically. The last one occurred a couple of years ago, said Andy, and spread like wildfire, leaving less than 2,000 acres of prairie dog towns throughout the more than 100,000-acre park. Other animals, like coyotes who feed on the animals, seem unaffected by the disease. The Cimarron National Grasslands boasts not only prairie dogs, but some stunning western views, truly one of our state's treasures. Their offices are in Elkhart in southwestern Kansas, so give them a call and plan a visit. Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
This segment brought to you by Bob Schwartz Financial. Values, commitment, transparency.
E.G. Taves joining you on the program today. Our guest is Courtney de Hoff. She's been an advocate for ag for a long time and considers herself a cowgirl. She also has made a name for herself in the media production area, and we were talking about breaking in to TV. Now, I do want to step back just a little and talk about 2016. You were a top 10 finalist when Kelly did the live co-host search. Tell me about that experience.
So this was during one of my several periods of unemployment in the TV industry. I obviously am always working, but, I didn't have a full-time TV job at the time. And I was sort of stuck. I didn't know when the next job opportunity was going to come. And my mom has always been a big fan of. She watched it back when it was Kathy Lee and Regis, and that, Kelly. It was Kelly and Michael. And then Michael sort of made his exit, so Kelly didn't have a co-host. So behind the scenes, obviously they were scrambling, I'm sure, and in the process of eventually getting Ryan Seacrest in there. But they had a little contest, and you could enter to win this contest to be her co-host for the day. And it was actually my mom who was like, "Oh, I saw this on Kelly Ripa. You should enter." And it sort of ticked me off. And I remember I was sort of mean to my mom. I said, "Really, Mom? Like, this is serious. I'm trying to find a job. This is stupid. 10 million people are going to submit to do this. Like, this is dumb." My mom was like, "All right." And I remember as she walked away, she said, "I don't know what else you've got going on." Well, she was sort of right.
Leave it to your mother. Leave it to your mother to
right? To just kick you right in the gut.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh, okay, Mom. So then I'm even more mad at her because I know she's right. And I remember I was saddling a horse. I was getting ready to go work barrel horses. And so I was riding and, doing my thinking. And riding a horse is usually where all my best thinking takes place. And I remember thinking, this is so stupid, but I guess I could enter it. And then I remember thinking, well, what makes me different? Like, there's literally nothing that makes me cool or different than the 10 million other stupid people who are going to enter this dumb contest. I was just mad at the whole thing. I was just mad at life. And I sort of remember I had this moment, I looked down and I'm, looking down at the head of my horse. And I thought, oh, well, I guess this is a little unique. Not everybody has a horse or a cow okay. So it was as I was riding that I sort of got this idea. I thought, all right, if I'm going to do this, I have to do something that makes me different. So I submitted my first audition tape along with, 25,000 other people. And it was sort of just it was a TV host stuck on the farm. And the whole skit was, I'm a TV host who's stuck on the farm. And I wore a white pantsuit, full white, something you might wear on TV. And the whole shtick was, I'm a TV host who literally is can't get off the farm. And I rode a horse in my white pantsuit. I led a cow, show heifer in my white pantsuit, a heifer that we had not halted broke yet. So it was a little ranchy. And I just sort of did this bit and submitted it and didn't really think much about it. And then they were like, congratulations, you made it to the next round. So then it got serious. I was like, okay, this is going to be my big break. This is going to be my big moment. They're probably going to just want to hire me to be your full-time host. This is it. So then it got really serious. And my poor mom, I made her video, the next one, and I yelled at her the whole time, to make sure the angles were right and the audio was perfect. And God bless my mom. And we did the next one, and I made it all the way to the final 10. And they announced that they were going to announce the top 5 live on the show. So we all, I'm at my house, my mom's at her house, and we're watching, and we're just praying because this is it. Because the top 5 get to go to New York to be on the show to actually compete to be the host. And they announced the top 5, and I wasn't one of them. And I remember I just burst into tears because I thought that was it. That was my shot. That was my big break, and I missed it. Well, looking back, it was such an incredible opportunity, and I did eventually, shortly after that, I got my job in Dallas, and it definitely helped to have that on my resume. Mm-hmm. But it was such a pivotal moment for me because that was the moment that I realized, hey, the fact that I'm a cowgirl, this is pretty cool, and why am I not marketing this? Why am I not talking about this? Because I really didn't tell people where I'd come from or how I grew up, and I just didn't think they would take me seriously in New York and in LA if they knew I was just a little farm girl from Kansas. But in my naivety, I wasn't realizing that actually was exactly what was going to make them notice me. So it was, I credit that Live with Kelly co-host contest for really opening my eyes to what makes me unique.
I'm Bob Swartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Swartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Swartz Financial values commitment and transparency.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
There are lots of unsung heroes in our society today, but certainly let's not forget the farmer where it all begins. There are lots of unsung heroes here in our world today: teachers and police, the guy who brings the mail our way, first responder, waitress, firefighter, the forklift driver with the load, the store clerk, soldier, janitor, the trucker on the road. What about the moms and dads working hard to make ends meet, those caring for the elderly or repairing lights or street? The welder and the preacher, the one who runs the big machine, the salesman and musician, the one who keeps our water clean, those who volunteer in church, the one who cares for kids or cooks, those who serve on clubs, committees, or take time to keep the books, those in the county office, the nice lady at the bank. I appreciate all these that I should take the time to thank. But life could not go on without our daily bread. So let's recognize the farmers whose efforts keep us fed. Thanks to all the unsung heroes for contributions great and small, and a special thanks to farmers whose work helps feed us all. Happy trails.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff, like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Michelle's got a wonderful story for you this morning, and one that is very close to her heart, I know. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Deb, and good morning to all our viewers. Today, we're going to dig back in the Around Kansas vault and share the life, the legacy, and the work of Fort Scott's Gordon Parks.
The youngest of Sarah and Andrew Jackson Parks' 15 children, Gordon Roger Alexander Buchanan Parks was born dead on November 30th, 1912. Revived by Dr. Gordon, Parks fought to make his own way in the world from his first breath. Growing up in Fort Scott, Kansas was difficult for Parks and the rest of the community's African-American residents. While a youngster in Fort Scott, Gordon experienced racism firsthand when he witnessed a lynching. When he was 11, 3 white boys threw young Gordon into the Marmaton River because they knew he could not swim. He stayed below the water's surface until they moved along, ensuring that he safely made it to shore. His mother, Sarah, was influential in Gordon's upbringing. She introduced him to music, literature, and the arts. In 1928, when she died, Gordon was sent to live with an older sister in St. Paul, Minnesota. In 1937, Parks purchased his first camera, a White Launder Brilliant, at a pawn shop and began taking photos. When this first roll of film was developed, the owner of the lab realized that Gordon had an innate talent and encouraged him to continue shooting. The rest is history. In Minneapolis, Gordon began shooting fashion portraits for a women's clothing store in 1941. His work captured the attention of Marva Lewis, the wife of heavyweight boxer Joe Louis. By 1942, he was chronicling life for Chicago's African Americans living in the South Side, and he received a prestigious Julius Rosenwald Fellowship. He chose to work with the Farm Security Administration in Washington, D.C. during his fellowship. He explored the lives of African Americans in the nation's capital. His most famous portrait, American Gothic, featured Ella Watson with her broom and mop at the Farm Security Administration, where she worked as a cleaning lady. Gordon realized then that the power of his camera and the stories he told through his photographs. He would become the first African-American photographer to work for Vogue and Life magazines. Not content to confine himself to one medium, Gordon also wrote prose and poetry, composed music, and took up filmmaking as well. His semi-autobiographical novel, The Learning Tree, chronicled his time growing up in Fort Scott. In 1969, Gordon became the first African-American to write, produce, and direct a feature film supported by a major Hollywood studio. The filming of The Learning Tree brought Gordon back to Fort Scott for only the second time since he left in 1928. He would follow his first foray into film with the edgy urban blaxploitation film Shaft, starring Richard Roundtree. Shaft spun off several sequels. Gordon also composed the music for his films. In 2004, the Gordon Park Center for Culture and Diversity was founded at Fort Scott Community College, and Gordon returned home once again. He attended the center's Gordon Park celebration October that year. I had the honor and great fortune to meet and photograph Gordon while he visited his birthplace. Gordon offered me a piece of advice that guides me in my own photographic work. Shoot from your heart and always trust your instincts. On March 7, 2006, Gordon Parks, a Kansas Renaissance man and tireless advocate for social justice and equality, died in New York City. His final wish was to be buried near his parents in Fort Scott's Evergreen Cemetery. Today, you can visit the Gordon Park Center on the Fort Scott Community College campus and see Gordon's desk, his photographs, and other items he bequeathed to the center. I hope you'll join me again for another historical adventure somewhere around Kansas.
As always, I'm Deb Goodrich. Thank you for joining us this morning and the afternoon or whenever you happen to watch us. Thanks for being a part of our day. And as ever, I'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.